This morning I'm going to be doing a reading from Power, Freedom, and Grace by Deepak Chopra. The definition of freedom: the power to think or act without restraint, the capacity to exercise choice. One of the most crucial aspects of life is the notion of freedom and the notion of bondage. Ultimately, our goal is to experience freedom, but to understand what freedom is, we first have to understand what bondage is. To be in bondage is to be stuck in this or that possibility, having lost the ability to choose from an infinite range of responses. Bondage is always to our own boundaries, to our own beliefs, and conditioned responses, which are nothing more than ideas or concepts that we have committed to and accepted as truth. And when they are as rigid and inflexible as concrete, we cannot see past them. They become the prison walls that we inadvertently construct around ourselves. To be free of bondage, we have to break down conditioned responses. We have to go beyond boundaries and experience the boundless. Freedom comes from the experiential knowledge of our true nature, which is already free. It comes from finding out that our real essence is the joyful field of infinite consciousness that animates all of creation. In this state of freedom, we understand that life is the meaningful coexistence of all opposite values. We may experience happiness, or we may experience pain and suffering, but we do not get attached to pleasure, and we do not recoil in fear of pain. In freedom, we even lose our fear of death, because the belief in mortality is just a spell that we have cast upon ourselves. Beyond all of the obstacles to freedom is a world that is free of all projection. It is the world of infinite consciousness, and that world abides in the eternal moment.
So freedom. July is traditionally the month that we celebrate freedom, that we celebrate the gift of freedom, and the gift of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is something I'm going to be bringing up and speaking about all month in July. Now, while these freedoms are absolutely free, they do come with responsibility. Actually, they come with responsibility and the right and the power to act, to believe, and express ourselves in any way we choose. We always have a choice of how we're going to express ourselves. We can always choose to express ourselves as that reflection of the infinite potential that lies within each and every single one of us. And that's a true expression of grace. And the very nature of grace is that effortless being. Not about doing, it's about being. And grace is your natural state, which means you already are whole, complete, open, vast. All of those things are already within you, just waiting to be brought up and out, just waiting to be realized, even though those things are contrary sometimes to what we believe about ourselves, aren't they? Grace is one of those things that doesn't need our help. Imagine that. It doesn't need our help to be pushed along or to make things go our way. No nudging involved. It is simply about being open to our true nature, to who it is we truly are. The one thing that grace does ask of us, however, is to be in present moment awareness, to be right here, right now. And that is when grace can flow through us with that effortless ease. When it does that, it allows that, it reveals that highest action that we want to take at the right time. It is through grace that we can experience freedom. That's how we become conscious of our true nature, of who we truly are. of realizing that our real, true essence is indeed that joyful field of infinite consciousness that animates all of creation, that Sue shared with us. And we can utilize that gift of grace and freedom as a reminder to be attentive to the words we use, to the thoughts we think, and to the different actions that we take. Much of our difficulty in realizing true freedom begins with our thought processes. Those things that are going around and around and around pretty consistently and constantly in our head. And those thoughts, of course, have plenty to do with the words we use and the actions that we take in our life. So there is tremendous power in being present to the right here and the right now. And that is the only place that we are going to find that freedom that we're so diligently searching for out there. That's where we're going to find that everything that we're searching for, everything that we strive for, everything that we want is already here. It is already within. Just waiting for us to say, okay. Often we put our awareness everywhere but here. Am I the only one, or do you guys get that? We keep thinking something outside of us is going to change, make us feel more free, make us feel more open. If only I had more money. If only I had a better spouse. If only I had more friends. If only I had a better job. Is that the truth? Mm-hmm. And we feel like then we could be free. Then we could do what we want. It isn't about that. We first begin here. And here's part of our issue. Many of us have gotten so used to it that we really actually like being entertained by our thoughts. Maybe we don't want to admit it, but maybe that's kind of true, which is why it keeps happening. And when we want to be entertained by those thoughts, we begin to believe our own stories. Oh, how frightening is that? Right? Because we start believing that those stories give us meaning, give us context. And in reality, those things are just our personality. In the book Freedom Is, Brandon Bays poses some really interesting and what I found very profound questions. And a couple of them I want to share with you. They're profound in that if you sit with them for a second, you're going to go, oh. You know how sometimes you read things and it just strikes you a little bit differently than when you've heard it before. One of her questions was this: what if our thoughts have no meaning whatsoever except the meaning we give to them? Wow. What if that's true? And the second one is, what if we realized that thoughts are just a bunch of syllables trailing through our consciousness? Now, in fact, both of those things are true, aren't they? And how often do we look at it that way, though? We give so much energy to our thoughts of the past, and we assign a whole lot of energy, attention, and struggle to those, to our lives because of those. And it's all based on what happened before, what was true in a moment of time. No wonder we don't feel free. We're clinging on to that old stuff as if it's helping us move through life. And in truth, it's a hindrance, not a help. Our past is gone. It's done. And in reality, we know that. We know it's not here and now. Yet we tend to make decisions or take action based on what has happened in the past. And when we do that, we are actually welcoming in that hurt and that pain that maybe we suffered at one point in time. We don't have to do that. adding fuel to the fire when we do that. We're making it worse. And have you noticed your story gets more intense and more dramatic all the time? Bayes, in her book, another line that really caught my attention was this: life loves you enough to give you a choice in every moment. Life loves you that much that you get to choose in each and every moment how you feel, the way you see it, what you're going to do next, what you're going to think. We are always, always free to choose differently than what we maybe have done in the past. Our thoughts truly are those fleeting experiences, lasting only as long as we choose to hold on to them. And if we give ourselves permission to blame life or blame others for our discomforts, for our situations, our circumstances, then we've made that choice to perpetually suffer over something that's really old. It has nothing ever to do with them. It always has to do with us. And that's the bondage that Sue was reading about and that she shared. We've become so conditioned to trust our thinking mind, to put a lot of attention on our thought processes, that even when we've had a taste of something much bigger, something deeper, something better, we still have that tendency to resort back to our conditioned mind. It's kind of our fallback. We can benefit so much as we learn to give up the belief that our mind has all the answers, that we are in total control. Our thinking mind is trained in the sense that it follows the rote learned formulas that we've taught it over these many years. Okay, some of you, a few years. Some of us, a lot of years. But we've taught our mind just to go on autopilot. It's time to stop and step outside of that box. And to do that, we have to be aware. We have to be in this moment. We have to have that present moment awareness for us to look outside of that box. And as we let go and we move into that infinite consciousness, we will remain present. Grace will step in, and grace will support all of our life decisions, all of our endeavors. And then we are able to easily let go of resistance to those obstacles that we perceive are in our way. And yes, I said the obstacles we perceive are in our way, because actually we're defining those obstacles. We're deciding what is stopping us from moving forward. We create obstacles through our resistance to what is in the moment. And we can learn to let go of that struggling. And what I'm telling you is the moment we choose to stop the struggle and relax and trust life is the exact moment that we can recognize everything that we seek is already within. And that's the only time that it happens. And we can allow grace to take over. We can open up and allow that flow to move through us. And when we do that, we can't help but feel an absolute reverence for life, for all of life. And our awareness becomes centered on the now. Bliss, reverence, respect, gratitude will automatically flow through our life because it is our natural expression. That is who we are at our core. When we truly get to a point where we revere life, we are prompted by that deepest part of us at a soul level to honor that. And in that honoring, we are honored. In our blessing, we are blessed. And in our loving, we become love. Deepak Chopra shares a saying in his book, Power, Freedom, and Grace. He said, the river of life runs between the banks of pleasure and pain, and one bumps into both. And don't we know that's the truth? We bump into pleasure, we bump into pain. The problem, though, he tells us, occurs when we cling to either one of those banks, whether it's pleasure or whether it's pain. And we know that neither one of those lasts forever. It comes and it goes. Life flows just like a river. It just keeps moving. The problem is our interpretation, our perception of what it is that's going on. And that will determine whether it's good or bad, whether it's painful or pleasurable. The goal is to experience both of those sensations. And I do mean experience them and feel them and not get stuck in either one of them. Kind of being the watcher. Like Eckhart Tolle talks about, standing on the outside of that and watching. Isn't that interesting? Didn't feel very good. Isn't that interesting? That felt great. Knowing that they're both going to come and go and not being attached to either. That is how we achieve freedom. Freedom from our conditioned thoughts and freedom from our actions. And as we do that, life becomes less and less of a chore. And we then reside in that state of joyful bliss a heck of a lot more frequently. And I believe that's where we want to be, is loving life. Living a life of absolute complete freedom requires tremendous courage. It does, because to live with freedom, independence, self-sufficiency, and responsibility, that's a lot of effort, isn't it? And yet it yields such a rich, fulfilling life. It allows you to become the best you can possibly be as you open up. When we live from a place of freedom and grace, we're allowing that life to flow easily and flow effortlessly. And we will then bring our attention on thoughts and choices that will bring us joy, love, happiness, harmony, peace, not only to ourselves, but to the world around us. And it's never about I, right? It's always about we. Who you are and what you do affects everyone in your world. We know when our choices are in alignment with our essential self. And we'll know because we'll feel in harmony with all of life. Our thoughts will be life-affirming, and we'll know it. Our actions will be positive, reflecting the good for all. Whatever we let go of in any moment is finite. What you gain and what you can become through this is limitless. Lovingly and peacefully letting go of the stories that we repeat about ourselves is the only thing that keeps us from living that full richness of right here and right now. Let it go. Be yourself. And life's abundance will just flow for you, through you, and as you. Feel that intense and magnificent freedom of living by choice in this moment. And be grateful that you have that opportunity to act, to create, to experience, and to simply be. I'm going to close with a very short quote from Freedom Is by Brandon Bays. Freedom already is. It's who you are, who you always will be. It's time to live in the freedom that is already here. It's time to live a life of grace. And so I invite you to resolve today and every day to make the most of the precious freedom that is yours. And thank you so much for being here while I share the truth as I understand.